Alright, so for those of you that wanted some more content on the RunCam Thumb 2, that's a follow-up to my initial video on the 1.0 firmware. That's the one that they sent out, and they just recently updated it to version 1.1 firmware, which now adds, as you can see here in the app, the ability to adjust your ISO settings, and you see it's auto 100 to 3200, and set your shutter speed auto all up to 1/1200. And you do have to update the app as well to get these additional features. Some kind of weird stuff that I did want to point out. So for example here, if you have white balance here, you can set this to auto, and then if you say set your ISO to 100, you can see that the white balance is locked to auto. So to get out of that, so it's not grayed out, you can put ISO back to auto, and then you can set your white balance to sunny, and then you can set your fix your ISO, and then you can see that the white balance is now, as well as the muting mode, is grayed out. You can't change that once you lock your ISO and or shutter, but you can lock in sunny before you do that. So just something to point out if you were like, why is this grayed out? You can get around it like that. I'm going to show you two flights. There's a third flight where I try to do basically, so I'll explain. So the first flight I did ISO 100 and shutter speed 1/120, and I used the ND8 filter that's already on here, as you can see. It's a completely sunny day, not a cloud in the sky, but I'm kind of going in and out of trees, so really sunny to sort of dark. And basically the 1/120 seems to be the best in this scenario. I did a second flight where I switched it to 1/240, and by the way, this is 4K 60 frames per second in the 16:9 mode, and I'm doing gyroflow stabilization. So this is the second flight that you'll see, and after I stop talking here, and I think it's a lot darker. I didn't like it, even with the lowest ND. So I'm not sure where you would use the higher NDs. Probably if you were looking at the 16 or 24 ND filters, probably in completely sunny conditions, without any trees, and maybe like the 24 you'd use maybe like in very specific settings, like maybe over water with a lot of reflections, or over snow. I can't imagine using it, at least where the kind of flying I do. I fly around trees a lot, so I'm gonna be sticking to the ND8 and 1/120. The third flight, what I tried to do is I tried to set the shutter to auto like this, so ISO 100, white balance sunny, shutter auto, but I don't think it took. So you generate the QR code, right? And this function here doesn't seem to work as well as on the previous RunCams. I did give feedback on this to RunCam. I'm going to remind them again. I had this problem in the version 1.0. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the original review. It's still kind of there. So you create the QR code, and you double click the shutter button there and put it into QR code mode, and then you're sitting here and you're like, why isn't it taking the code? Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it just doesn't do it at all. And there's a few times where I had to just basically unpower the camera and then repower it and try it again. I thought it took it for that third flight, but I'll show you a short little clip of it. It looks identical to the 1/240, so I'm not going to show you the whole thing. That's pretty much it. I think if you look at this is just my subjective opinion. You guys can leave your opinions down in the comments, but what I think I want to do here is reduce the contrast. Now, I think what RunCam is going for here is like basically straight out of a camera, no color grading needed. I think that for people that like a lot of saturation and contrast, the out of camera image that you're going to get seems to be okay. It's a lot better than when the shutter was shut to auto before, and the exposure was fluctuating all over the place. That's why I flew this these flights at the same place that I flew with the ND8 filter last time in the first video. So you can go back, and I'll link that in the video description. You guys can compare in the 1.0 firmware, where you couldn't lock your shutter speed, the exposure was just going all over the map, and it was quite jarring and not very pleasant. I think it looks a lot better now with the shutter locked at 1/120 in this scenario that you're seeing here. The thing is, like, the contrast seems to be really boosted in the default image here. So as I'm flying around here, you can notice that under the trees, where it's really dark, it's very dark. Like, the shadows are crushed. But then when you look off to the distance, like if you like some of the there's some like buildings with like white paint on them, or sort of like maybe not necessarily white paint, maybe like a eggshell colored paint. Well, it's very reflective, right? So and the sun's directly reflecting off that. So while the shadows are completely crushed in under the trees, the highlights reflecting off of that white wall is blown out. It's almost, if you look at it under a histogram, it looks like it's overexposed. So, yeah, this is some weird exposure stuff still going on here. I may be a little bit picky. I think what I want to do is reduce the contrast. I'm probably going to do another video later. I'm going to just dump the contrast all the way down. Saturation, I think, for me, maybe I'll go to like 2. I don't think I would go to 1. I left sharpness at medium. That's the default. So they have high, medium, low, and ultra high. I don't know why that's there. That's new, actually. I don't know why that's about. It used to be just low, medium, high. Now there's ultra high. I believe what the flight you're seeing is set to medium. I thought maybe the issues before were due to sharpness, but I think it's more the contrast. So you'll have another video. I'm going to fly this again, ND8 filter, probably that same park, 1/120, and I'm going to drop the contrast down. I think that's what I'm going to do next. I wish they had a flat color profile like they did on the previous camera. That's still not back. If you see here, it's not there anymore, whereas you have that on the Thumb Pro W. And by the way, they did send, so I sent this one back because the USB was broken, so they sent me another one. And then along with that, I asked them to send me the Pro W again, because I lost that one, as I mentioned in the previous video. So for those of you guys that were asking for side-by-side comparisons, some of you were saying, oh, I need side-by-side comparisons between the new Thumb 2 and the old Thumb Pro W. And then I did reply in the comments like, hey, can you help me out here and be a little more specific as to like what you're looking for? Because I ain't gonna like redo like every test. I just don't have the time. So I'm gonna narrow it down based on what people are looking for, and I don't really have a clue because these are different sensors. Really, the biggest thing is the frame rate difference, 30 versus 60, and then the image processing on the old camera is going to be completely different from the new camera. Obviously, you guys want to know what the differences are, but you can see what the differences are just by looking at the footage coming out of the RunCam Thumb 2. As I said, it seems like the contrast is way over boosted compared to the old camera. And if you want to see that, let me know. But yeah, be specific in your comments, because I don't, basically everyone wants me to do every test out there, or they want me to be your mind reader and figure out what they're looking for, and then they get upset when I can't figure out what they want. So be specific in the comments so I have an idea of what you're looking for. But I'm just telling you, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to probably just do ISO 100. I'm going to do shutter 1/120, same ND8, and I'm going to drop the contrast down. I'm going to probably just go all the way down to 1 and just see what that looks like, and then I'll put up another video. Anyway, here are the 2 flights. Again, as I said, the first one's 1/120, and then the other one, the second one after that is 1/240. And I'll show you a little blip of the last flight, which I thought I set to auto, but it's pretty obvious it's like 1/240. All right, onto the footage, and I'll see you in the next video.